Hey, Star Fam. Since we recorded this episode you're about to listen to, the unfortunate news of Stargirl coming to an end has broken, and we just wanted to address that with you real quick before our episode starts.
We want to say thank you for joining us on this journey the past 3 years as we have reviewed and talked to people involved with the show. It is a huge bummer that it was canceled. I was holding out a whole lot of hope, and I guess there's a small chance that it could be revived sometime, but I think we need to appreciate it for everything it was right now.
I, have been involved in Stargirl since the very beginning, and it really is like the absolute joy of my life having worked on the show, and making this podcast for all of you has been also really fantastic. I've loved hearing from all of you over all these seasons, meeting a few of you recently, and you're all my Star fam. It's just been a really great journey, and it's not over yet. We still have these next 5 episodes to go, and things are gonna get really great. So stick with us. I do want to reiterate, I've said it everywhere online, and so is Jeff, that we have creative closure at the end of this season. It's a very satisfying end, is all I will say. You're not going to feel like you got gypped out of a proper send-off for Stargirl. So stick with it, and we'll all get there together.
This is the Stargirl After Show with Sarah and Shawn. Your post-show breakdown of DC's Stargirl with Easter eggs, exclusive behind-the-scenes info, and cast and crew interviews.
This is our destiny. I finally know who I really am. I'm Stargirl.
This is the Stargirl After Show.
Hey, Star fam, welcome back to Stargirl After Show, sponsored as always by Stargirl.tv and DCTV.news, your best resources for news, media, and spoilers about Stargirl and other DC Comics related properties. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Sarah.
And I almost am going to have difficulty talking about anything in this episode other than the last 10 seconds, but I will try.
I mean, we had a lot of good stuff in here, but yeah, right there with you.
Yeah. First, let's just get the cat out of the bag. What was your reaction to the end of the episode?
Well, it took me a second to be.
Hold on 1 second. Because if ever this were important, it's now.
Warning. Spoilers ahead for this week's episode.
Please proceed.
Okay. So, just to make sure I'm right, is that Ultra Humanite?
Yes, that was the Ultra Humanite.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to make sure in case there was any liberties taken with design and all that. Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen here.
As the Flash was the first to give us Gorilla Grodd and King Shark, Stargirl being the first to give us the Ultra Humanite is amazing.
Yeah.
Who honestly thought they would live to see the day when Ultra Humanite would be on their television?
I definitely didn't expect it.
Also, let's be clear, you could do the Ultra Humanite on a TV show without having a giant white gorilla.
Right.
Because his whole thing is that he's a brain swapper.
Yeah, so I'm very excited to see. Maybe that's what's going to happen here.
I mean, it's great that they didn't cheap it out, They could have just had some dude show up and be like, I am the Ultra Humanite. Haha, whatever that means.
Yeah, but no, they went all in.
Yeah. Huge albino gorilla. Hell yeah. All right, let's get into the episode proper and work our way up to old UH.
All right, so this is Frenemies Chapter 9, The Monsters.
Aptly named.
Mm-hmm. And this episode was written by Jeff Johns and directed by Andy Armaganian. All right, so we jump into the episode. Lily is looking at a scrapbook, getting all emotional over her family memories. Is this someone burning on a cross?
It's someone burning on a pyre.
Okay, all right.
And you can sort of hear in the background sounds of anguish. And this is Lily thinking about how her family has been historically oppressed and hunted and feared and despised. Sort of an insight into why she's so dead set on Cameron focusing on his powers and not his art.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you come from a long line of people trying to get you, you got to always be ready.
Yeah.
And she wants Cameron to be ready.
Yes. There's a very big difference between being ready and being aggressive and being on the offense. And I feel like Lily and Sophus have different views of what they should be doing.
Really highlighted in this episode.
And so she goes into Cameron's room and she is furious that he's still doing art because his duty is to his family, and crumples up the drawing that he did of Courtney.
Back in season 2, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not a new drawing. It was his season 2 drawing of Courtney.
Yes. And then we cut over to the Whitmore Dugan house. Barbara is sitting there waiting for Pat and Courtney to come home.
Where is she sitting, though? She's sitting on the worry stairs.
On the worry stairs?
That's the same place she was sitting when she was waiting for Courtney to come back from the Shadow, or when she found out that Courtney had been sent to the Shadowlands.
Oh, okay.
Or she thought Courtney was dead, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's her worry stare.
Okay. I mean, you could tell she was very worried. But they come in and she gives them big hugs. Courtney asks where Yolanda is, and she says up in your room. And then she's trying to kind of ask what Pat saw when he was in the Shadowlands, and just gives him a hug when he can't talk.
Yeah, Pat shook to his core to the point where he can't talk to Barbara. It's rough.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. And then up in Courtney's room, Courtney goes in and there's Yolanda, and they immediately both apologize and start crying and hugging, and not a happy makeup, but we are happy that they are making up.
Everything that we were mad at each other about is dumb, and we're just going to throw it away without a word.
Yeah.
And I love that. We don't need to hash it all out on camera. It's just Yolanda, Courtney, rush hug.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it says more than a 3.5-minute dialogue scene would have.
Yeah, I agree. I hope that, for the sake of their friendship, they still do hash it out off screen. And I'm sure they did a little bit when they were talking about what Courtney wants her to get behind later.
Well, everyone knows that teenagers are very known for their communication.
Yes, absolutely.
Teenagers just communicate everything clearly. They speak their mind in a rational and reasonable way. It's what they're known for.
Yeah, I mean, just like Rick. He is the model teenager. And then down in the kitchen, Barb and Pat are there. Pat doesn't want to rest. He wants to go suit up and go help Sylvester. And Barb's like, no, you need to talk to me. He describes what he saw. He saw his dad, but it was just the same stuff he told me when I was a kid. And then he's worried that he's following in his father's footsteps with Mike. And that is truly what is shaking him.
So yeah, he really gets into Mike's origin story, if you will, with Maggie having abandoned him. And then, he didn't know Mike existed until after they were already split up.
Mm-hmm.
And then he found out, and they did the co-parenting thing for a while.
Yeah, he immediately knew. He was so happy. He wanted to be a father and was so happy to have Mike in his life.
And then it's just tragic. Maggie getting strung out on drugs, abandoning Mike at a soup kitchen, and then not even fighting for custody after she was sued for full custody after being picked up for possession.
And Mike, when he was younger, would ask to see his mom, and Pat just kept saying no. And after a while, Mike just stopped asking about her.
And Barbara, in all her wisdom, says, maybe Mike needs to face what's haunting him. Maybe he needs to see his mom again.
I loved her line. Sometimes letting your kids face their pain is the only way to help them cope with it. Because that is so hard, because you try so hard to keep your kids from being in pain, but it's a lesson that they have to learn. But there's a difference between parents who will let their kids face the pain and causing pain, like Yolanda's parents. Court and Yolanda are talking, and Courtney's like, they may understand everything. And Yolanda's like, no, I can't trust my family. They always tell everyone everything. And that's going to expose you and Beth and Rick.
Yeah, it's not just about my secret. It's about yours and Beth's and Rick's, which is sort of why Courtney was keeping Cameron's secret, because it's not her secret.
Mm-hmm.
Same sort of deal. All these things like reflecting one another.
Yeah. And then Courtney says that she still needs to apologize to Beth and Rick, but she wants to ask them something and she needs Yolanda's support.
Did you predict what she was going to ask?
I had an idea that it was going to be about Cameron, at least.
I mean, in the previously on, they had Cindy going, you can't tell him.
So I thought she was going to tell him about like the JSA, but not about his dad.
Well, as we find out, she didn't tell him about anything, really.
That's true. Again, love these scenes with Mike and Jakeem. They're over at Richie's having breakfast.
They are my power duo.
Mm-hmm. Jakeem is very worried about Cindy. He's saying that she stood up for us, but we didn't stand up for her. And that she's out there all alone turning into a crocodile. So he manages to convince Mike that helping her is the right thing to do after delivering the papers. And Mike very reluctantly agrees to it.
Jakeem's like really into his responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, we got to drop off these papers, but then let's go help the dragon girl.
And then the return of one of my favorite characters, Mr. Dysinger, is going over to the Maquette house.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. Lily and Sophus are not happy to see him and reluctantly invite him in.
I mean, look, Lily's given good stink eye to everybody that comes to her door.
Mm-hmm.
She must not be the favorite spot for the Uber Eats drivers.
No, probably not.
Though I don't know if anyone on Uber Eats delivers lutefisk.
Probably not.
So Mr. Dysinger is yet another like very involved teacher who really wants the best for his students. He really cares about Cameron and doesn't want to see him walk away from his art. And he's getting pretty worked up about it.
Yeah, he says that he dreams of Cameron's talent.
Yeah, that seems like a little bit of an Eclipso callback.
Mm-hmm.
Because he seemed weird in that moment.
Yeah. I was thinking that. And then I was also not sure because in the comics, Mr. Dysinger is Paintball. He's one of Courtney's villains. So I wasn't sure because I've only read him in Stars and Stripe. And so I wasn't sure if there was more to him and if there was anything about the dreams and all that.
Yeah, so it sort of seemed like they were setting him up for something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I dream about it. And then he's getting like all worked up like supervillain origin story time. But no, he just gets murdered.
Yeah.
What he says doesn't matter because he's dead now.
Which was kind of a funny line.
Yeah, that's a great way to win an argument.
Sophus looks shocked, though, that she would do that, and he looks very worried.
Yeah, his wife is a little unhinged, I think he's realizing.
Yeah, and I also think that he knew that something was going to happen to him. I think he could sense it coming, and so he's trying to get things in order and in line. Not doing a great job of it, but he's at least trying to do something.
Yeah, this is the second time he's tried to like talk his wife down and convince her like, these are people that are concerned about the happiness of our grandson, not just destroying our enemies.
Yeah.
So over in the pit stop, Pat is looking up Maggie in an attempt to possibly reunite her with Mike. And I noticed a little Easter egg, a little blink and you'll miss it Easter egg, but not to the comics. Her address is 111 Hesser Street.
Uh-huh.
And Hesser is for Michael Hesser, the post-production coordinator on the show.
Oh, okay.
So that was just someone in the post department was like, we'll just throw Mike's name in there.
Yeah, a nice little shout out. That's cool. And then Pat's good buddy, Krux, comes over. He wants to check on the cameras because he's like, we were being spied on. We need to figure out who did it. I loved how Sylvester is called and they're talking on the walkie-talkie and Krux is just playing with all this stuff and Pat's like, no, put it down. That kind of, it just was a funny scene there.
And it's our third episode without Sylvester.
Mm-hmm.
In episode 7. And in this episode, we only hear his voice.
Yeah.
And he's not in episode 8 at all.
And I think it worked with the story. I think it makes sense. But also from a production standpoint, he probably wasn't available.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal was with that. But I mean, that had to be like way planned in advance for it to be in the scripts.
Yeah, that's true.
Or, you know, maybe he was just like, I need 3 episodes off somewhere so I can do a thing. Because it doesn't make sense that he would be written out, you know?
Yeah.
I'm sure there was some of that going on because like he had other obligations because he's such a busy man.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it's nice because the season has been really Sylvester heavy.
Yeah.
He's almost a little like overbearing.
Yeah. And I think this has been good to let Courtney kind of shine here on her own.
Yeah.
And work her way back onto the team without Sylvester helping her, like convincing the others, like, this is, you know, we need to let her back on.
Yeah. So it's good that they got Sylvester and Courtney like separated from each other for a few episodes so that we can reestablish Courtney's place in the world rather than just in relation to Sylvester, her own place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then it also gives Pat an opportunity to talk with a different friend. And so he can talk with Krux about this.
And I love like Krux' earnest, like, dude, come on. You know you can trust me. Let's talk.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was really there being a friend for him.
Yeah.
And I love that even back when he wanted to like murder him, he was still friends. He felt bad about, you know, needing to murder Pat.
Yeah.
I love all the friendships on this show.
I think I do too.
Pat and Krux, Barb and Paula. One of my favorite Barb and Paula moments coming up here in this episode. All these weird friendships that work so well.
Yeah. And then over to the friends reuniting in the cafeteria. Courtney apologizes to Beth and Rick. And Beth immediately is like, apology accepted, and super happy. Like, okay, this is all behind us. And Rick takes a little bit longer. Doesn't say it's accepted. Doesn't say he forgives her. It's just, okay, we're good. And then Courtney maybe should have let it rest and settle a bit before jumping right into telling them that she wants to tell Cameron everything.
We got 40 minutes. We got to get going. Come on.
Yeah, I know. But Rick, I think, needs a little time to process. But she wants to tell Cameron everything. She wants to share the JSA and the Stargirl and the truth about his father. And she's asking for their support. She's not asking for their permission. She is just asking for their support.
And look, this is my favorite Rick scene of the whole show from the pilot on. Mm-hmm. Because he's getting like legit emotional. He says, you know, I have your back. I have everyone's back here. And you know that because you're my family.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, don't say I didn't warn you.
Which, fair.
Like he knew she was going to do it one way or another.
Yeah.
And I got your back is a way of saying like, so when it goes wrong, I will be there to punch Cameron's teeth out the back of his head.
Mm-hmm.
But just letting you know that I called it. When it happens, I called it.
And he is very surprised that Yolanda's on board. Yeah, and Yolanda's like, well, I was wrong about Cindy.
Just a little bit wrong.
Just a little wrong, yeah.
Just about the murder part.
So Rick grabbing the hourglass at the end of that scene there, do you think he just always has it on?
Yes.
Or is it just always ready that he can flip? Okay.
He doesn't need to flip it anymore.
Well, like if he ever doesn't want the super strength, or I think he, before he wouldn't have gotten so emotional there.
It was sideways.
Right.
I feel like it's just always on.
Okay.
If it's on him, it's on.
All right. Over Rip City, this beautiful scene. Paula is training Barb in how to attack her enemies. And Barb's like, no. Let's do self-defense. Paula's like showing off some moves. This is what you can do. And Barb's like, nope, I'm sorry. I can't do it. Thank you. You're a really good friend. And Paula gets so emotional. Well, emotional for Paula. Because no one's ever called her a friend before.
Yeah, I love Barbara's like, surely that's not true.
And I'm thinking, yeah, it's probably true.
These are women well into their 40s. It's almost unthinkable that someone can go 4 decades of life without someone saying, like, you're my friend. This is my friend, Paula.
But I love, once again, them bonding there.
Yeah, this is a friendship that I'm 100% here for.
And then over at school, Mike and Jakeem are breaking into Cindy's locker. I think Jakeem has really taken Zeke's advice to heart about the intention of the wish, because he makes the wish to open the locker and it immediately works. But the Thunderbolt does comment that they're in an ethical gray area because he knows what they're trying to do. But what it looks like is they're breaking into the locker of a girl you have a crush on.
So I got to say, like, I love what Seth Green is bringing to the Thunderbolt.
Yes.
Like, his little nerve is like, you know, it's... But on the other hand, it's like you're breaking into the locker of a crush you have. So this could be stalking. I just want to, like, make us aware of the ethical gray space we're in here.
I was a little nervous when they announced that he would be taking over for Jim Gaffigan this season, but I have loved him, and he hasn't been in it a ton, but I've loved Seth Green as the Thunderbolt.
I've loved Seth Green in everything. I've never had Seth Green appear on my screen where I was like, it's Seth Green.
Well, yes, that's true too.
Yeah, I love that we have a character that's just like, if that pen is around, you can just spice up a scene by, like, throwing in some Seth Green. Just pepper it in here and there.
Yeah, and when they're in the bathroom and going through her stuff, he's making more comments about it. I love they're like, why does she carry around metal cleaner? Oh, well, she has a knife in her arm. That makes sense.
I like that Jakeem, like, dropped it as if that made it gross.
Yeah, and then they find a list of her father's laboratories. All of them crossed off except for one, the Eder Produce Farm.
Now, I think there's an Easter egg here. I think there must be someone in Jeff Johns' life with the name Eder. Because I don't know of any DC Comics things with the name Eder.
There is an Eder pizza place
on Titans. So that's also a Jeff Johns show. So I feel like Jeff is throwing in this Eder person's name. It's got to be like a friend of his or someone from his childhood or something.
Yeah.
Much in the way that Josh from season 1 and Stars and Stripe is the name of, like, his high school best friend.
Oh, okay. And then also I just wanted to like point out the costuming. It's kind of on the nose, but I really like it that Jakeem is wearing a pink shirt with a lightning bolt on it that lines up exactly with where he keeps the pen.
I did notice that.
Yeah, I think that looks great. And then Mike is wearing a shirt that has some stripes on it, but the whole shirt isn't stripes. I feel like it's kind of a call to stripesy kind of thing where, especially with all the stuff going on about Pat being worried that he's not following in his footsteps and all that.
That I didn't notice, but I did notice the lightning bolt coming out of the pen.
And then this doesn't seem like the smartest decision for Courtney to do. If I was going to talk to Cameron about all the stuff and tell him the truth about his father, I don't think I would do it at his house where his grandparents are.
No, that was a rough move.
Yeah.
Can we go for a walk is a very good sentence to use in these times.
Do that. Definitely want to be in a public place to hopefully not cause a scene.
Speaking of scenes, he'll probably never get the recognition for this, but let's face it, when our man burst through that wall, Kool-Aid Man style, yes, I know it was double doors, but give it to me. He definitely, like, potentially saved Courtney's life.
Yes.
Because that Ice Queen was not having it.
No, she was not.
She had murder in her eyes, and she's already murdered once today. Which you'll notice when Courtney came in the house, we pulled back to see Mr. Dysinger's cane sticking out of the garbage can.
Yeah.
I think they need to take some body disposal tips from the Crocs.
Oh, for sure.
That was a rookie move.
Oh, it would be amazing if in, the finale, they end up going to get arrested because of the murder of Mr. Dysinger. I would be on board for that. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would like to have something.
It'll be like the end of Blazing Saddles and or Holy Grail. They're all just getting ready for a huge superhero fight, and then the police just come in and round everybody up.
That would be great.
It would be. So, we mentioned that Rick bursts in as Our Man, like fully suited up, or as Kool-Aid Man, if you prefer.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason he does so is because prior to that, Beth's goggles have gotten a ping that they've traced the signal from the cameras to the McKent house.
And she says that she's been getting false locations all over the country.
And that's why Sylvester's not there. He's in Utah checking one out.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, maybe this is a false lead. But, of course, Rick is like, nah, this is the one now, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The other 8, they were false flags, but this is definitely real. No doubt. Now, before the fight, when Cameron's showing Courtney around the house and showing her the snow globes, he's saying, my dad brought these back from me from each business trip that he went on, and he called them trophies. Do you know why he called them trophies?
Well, weren't all the business trips when he went to go kill people that were related to the company?
Yeah, they're called trophies because that's what serial killers take, are trophies.
Yeah.
So she's going to talk to Cameron about his dad being a super murderous supervillain. And he's like, before we talk about my dad, allow me to show you his trophies. What a lead in. I mean, it's a step away from, so this is my dad's ear collection. My dad collected all these microscope slides with blood drops on them.
I feel like Snow Globe is right up there on the creep level too, because it's so innocent.
Yeah. It's real Funland vibes. The serial killer from Sandman.
And then, as we talked about before, she starts to try to tell him Lily and Sophus run in. And then that's when Rick, breaks his way in. Lily loses in. You children, you will finally die for what you have done. I got real annoyed right here where Yolanda and Beth they're still outside. And Yolanda's like, I can't believe that Rick went in. And Beth is trying to explain about the hourglass.
It's like, explain later.
Yeah, and Yolanda's so rude to her. I was thinking earlier, why did Yolanda go to Courtney's instead of to Beth's since they were in a fight? But I feel like she still doesn't view Beth as an equal. And I think she does with Courtney.
Those chapels probably got a guest room, though.
Yeah, I was thinking it would probably be a lot more comfortable there. But she would also have, Beth's parents be slightly overbearing.
Too bad she's not better friends with Jakeem.
Yeah.
Because the Williamses have the nicest house in Blue Valley. It says so in the script. I think they're like the richest family in Blue Valley.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
No, that doesn't seem right.
Maybe that's why Cindy was friends with Jenny.
Yeah. Rich girls stick together.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Too bad she can't get along with Cindy, because that girl's got a whole house all to herself.
I don't think Hug It Out would work between the two of them, though.
Or Rick's got a whole house to himself, too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit out of town. But, of course, Yolanda went to Courtney's because that's where her support base is.
Yeah.
There are other places with more room. But there's no heart with more room than Courtney's.
Oh, yes.
So I love Yolanda and Beth sneaking around outside. Like, they're outside in the dark, in the wide open. And Yolanda's like creeping, like she's going down a dark hallway.
It cracks me up how much they don't try to hide things on this show.
Oh, how everything's out wide in the open, and Sylvester like is just flying around downtown with the cosmic staff at night.
Yep.
You almost want a scene to happen where like the prom scene in Buffy season 3.
Yeah.
Where Courtney gets like the class protector award.
Yep.
Because while she thought she's been sneaky all this time, like obviously everyone in the world has noticed.
Yep.
As Yolanda jumps up into the house, she's like, you wait here. Fighting's not your thing, Beth. Which is such a common complaint I see from people on usually Reddit. Complaining that like, what good is Dr. Midnight without her goggles? She can't fight. She can't do anything. Like, honestly, what good are any of them without their tools if you're going to look at it from that perspective?
Right.
But Yolanda's calling that out now. And I bet nothing is going to address that later in this episode.
No, not at all. Beth just stays outside the house and twiddles her thumbs.
It would have been funny if she came in and then Yolanda was like, Beth, I told you to wait in the car.
Yeah. Call back to Starman and Stripesy there.
Yeah.
I love the Wildcat and Lily hallway fight. They're just going at it. Beth is brave and comes in and is facing Sophus, who just wants to be left alone. And her dad gets a burner phone and breaks through and calls, which I'm not sure I would answer a phone call if I was in the middle of all this, but I guess it's a good thing that she did, because it turns out that her parents talked to Dr. McNider and found out everything that her suit can do, even the untested stuff. So
I have a lot to say about this.
Okay, go ahead.
First, I love that her parents respected that they were not to be like so involved in her superheroing, but also took the initiative to see if there was any way in which they could still help her without being so involved that it put them in danger and made things more dangerous for her. Because honestly, if she's worrying about them, that's going to put her in more danger.
Yes, it will.
And the timing was impeccable, of course, because it's TV and we have to run that narrative. But I love that Beth solves two different problems in this episode because her parents were involved.
Yes.
So pushing them away was not the right move. And now we see like Sophus only lived because Beth involved her parents. And prior to that, Beth only lived because her parents were involved.
Yes.
Because without combat mode, Sophus would have iced her right up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, one more thing that I have to say about that. What is up, Chuck? You're not going to give your girl an instruction manual or something? What is this, the greatest American hero?
Yeah. Both the goggles and the actual person, Dr. McNider, did not give her a crash course in all of this.
Yeah, it's a double Chuck fail.
Yeah.
It's almost like Peter Parker finding all the extra stuff in the Stark suit.
Exactly. So we just keep cutting from all these fight scenes here. Rick is fighting to kill, is what it looks like. Cameron is using an ice shield to block him. Rick is throwing Courtney around, like trying to keep her away.
Oh yeah, when Rick threw her against the wall, like that was it.
And then Beth is on the ground and Artemis jumps in, takes down Sophus, and
I don't know where she came from, but it was good to see her.
Yeah, I wonder if she's just always kind of patrolling and watching to see if they're going to be doing anything.
Oh, I love that idea. I love that she's just like always on the prowl.
Because no one in Blue Valley is going to notice, because they don't notice anything.
She's just patrolling the streets of Blue Valley at night, the way the JSA was in the beginning of season 2. They were going out on patrol every night and finding dangerous raccoons.
Yeah.
So like Artemis is trying to get in with the group, and so she's just going around patrolling, looking for trouble. Yeah, you solved it. I love that. That is my headcanon.
Awesome. And she did save Beth there. Sophus goes to leave. He is clutching his arm, obviously hurt. How is Cameron keeping up against Rick?
Ice powers.
But like when he gets
Ice
thrown
powers.
and punched and everything,
Ice powers.
does his ice powers make his not get hurt?
Ice powers.
Okay.
Look, I can absolutely explain away all of that right off the top of my head. He's developed these powers. They're obviously he doesn't always have control over them. And it's just a psychosomatic or not a psychosomatic, but an autonomic response, basically. Just the same way your eyes blink when something is coming at your face, he ices up an area of his body when it's getting hit or when it detects a punch. Things like that.
Okay.
It makes sense to me if I think it through. I understand when you watch the episode, you might go like, this doesn't make sense. What is this meek art boy doing, moving around like a ninja and taking superpowered punches to the face? This makes no sense. And I get that. But it's a superhero fight. And it needs to look cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I will...
It did. It looked very cool.
I will absolutely go the extra step to just sort of justify that in my mind for it to not be dumb.
Okay.
Because Sophus is doing the same thing. He flipped Artemis up so that she broke the wall above a door that I'm sure has a name other than the wall above the door.
I'm sure it does.
I don't know what it is.
All right, so the JSA looks like they're in trouble here. Wildcat is kind of frozen up against the door. Rick was holding Cameron up by the neck, and when Courtney tries to stop him, he throws her aside. But Cameron freezes his arm.
Can I just point out that if that were Jordan, Rick would have just been instantly dead?
I had that thought too.
And I don't know if that's because Jordan is more powerful or because Jordan just has greater control over his powers. But if Rick were touching Jordan, holding him up by the throat, his whole body would just instantly freeze.
Yeah, well, I think it also has to do with how angry Jordan was and the hate in his heart and all that. I don't think at this point Cameron is trying to kill Rick. He's trying to stop him.
I don't know. I felt like when he killed the wizard, he didn't seem like he had hate in his heart.
Well, I think he just always does.
Oh, like Bruce Banner. That's my secret. I'm always hateful.
Yes. That he's distanced from people. He doesn't care about a singular person. He thinks about people as a collective. So he's like, this guy's in my way. I'm going to just kill him.
That's fair.
I don't know. That's kind of how I saw it.
You mean he's detached and, dare I say it, cold?
Exactly.
So with everybody like on the ropes, Lily comes in and is like, these are the ones who killed your father. Do it. You do it. She turns into Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah.
And she's like, unleash your hate.
And Cameron is really thinking about it. He ices out, throws Rick into the stairs.
I really wanted to see Cameron like ice up dad style.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of sad that we didn't see that.
Sophus comes in and stops him.
It's like, it's not them that killed your father. It was his own hate.
Yeah, it was this anger. And then he crumples down, having a heart attack. It is because of Beth, like we talked about earlier, that
and Beth's mom.
She calls her mom and she goes in and they tell her she can use the defibrillator in her gloves and kind of stabilize him at least a little bit until the ambulance gets there.
And, they're like, what do we do? And her instant response is, we call my mom.
Yes.
Loved that. Beth, depending on her parents, is the greatest thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Ultra Humanite's in this episode, so maybe it's the second greatest thing.
Yes.
I wrote, Beth defibrillates with a little help from her rents.
Very succinct. That's what happened. And then Cameron and Courtney are kind of looking at each other for a while. Can't really tell what their faces are saying.
I think his face is saying, there is a longer conversation coming up very soon.
Mm-hmm.
And her face is saying, yeah.
And then Rick just apologizes to Courtney right there. And we leave the scene as we hear the 911 operator. And we go over to the boys riding their bikes to Eder Produce Farm. Even Thunderbolt is creeped out by this place.
I'm an all-powerful genie in a pen, and I'm creeped out.
They look in through the window and don't see anyone. Somehow they miss the dead body laying there on the floor.
He's like right against the door, so he's like looking. There's a blind spot at a certain angle,
I guess. Mike also just isn't the most detail-oriented, so I could see him just being like, oh, don't see it.
Old man Eder is dead. That's the point here. So maybe it's an old enemy of Jeff's.
Oh, that could be.
Not an old friend. Because he's dead in this and people are eating him in the other thing? Because he's a pizza.
Oh, yes. Okay. So they decide to go out and check the barn. get the real life flashlight out, get the Thunderbolt out there.
And then they say words and they talk and things, but then there's an Ultra Humanite.
Okay, but first, so I don't know if you know anything about the set here. The Thunderbolts line, I've seen this as a set piece for a lot of independent horror films.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if that was like an actual thing.
Oh, could be, actually. I would have to do some real deep research on that.
Okay.
But I could definitely find the address, unless it's a set, in which case it's just a lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be. However, I would say that the script would have been written prior to the location being found.
Yeah, unless he ad-libbed or something. Because all that his voiceover goes at the end, right?
Yeah, you can add that stuff in later. I'm sure a lot of his lines are different than they are in the script. But yeah, that's a good point. We have a lot of that stuff here. Halloween Ends was shot here.
Oh, really?
And that's definitely a horror film because it was horrible to watch. It was not good. I don't recommend it. What?
But set pieces aside, we get the Ultra Humanite.
And he wants to kill them all. Who them? Don't know.
I love that the Thunderbolt immediately, after screaming, shoots right back into the pen.
Yeah, because that's scary. And it looked good.
It looked really good.
I would have to go back and look at Gorilla Grodd again. But I feel like maybe Gorilla Grodd looked a little better. But I might just have remembered it better.
I don't know. I think he looked really good here.
He did. And if Gorilla Grodd did look better, the reason would be that like they had to put like a lot of extra effort in to sell it because, you know, it was a big swing for the fence at that point.
Yeah. Now
you can put a giant gorilla in a TV show and it's not a big deal. But I mean, it looked super fantastic.
It did. And I'm very excited to see where we're heading and what his connection is. I mean, this was on the list that Cindy had. Is Cindy also there? Was he working with Dragon King? So many questions.
Do you think that was him doing that puzzle?
I don't think it was him in the gorilla body doing the puzzle, but possibly if he was, switching brains, he could have been doing that.
I love that the misdirection of Mr. Bones being the Watcher really worked because we've mentioned that when I watch the episodes with my wife, I encourage her to speak. Not that it matters. She's going to either way.
Mm-hmm.
We were watching that episode and she's like, he's just doing a puzzle of his own face. It's lame.
Yeah, it's true.
And I'm just sitting there thinking like, she doesn't know. Man, I wish that we could just talk about the Ultra Humanite for like an hour, but there wasn't a lot to talk about.
No, I'm sure we'll get more in the upcoming episodes.
Oh no, that's all we ever see of him. That's it. Don't even mention it again. Whole rest of the season. Mike's never even like, we saw a giant white gorilla.
That would be awful.
Yeah. Luckily that is not true, but I like lying. It is fun. So that's it. We're going to take a quick break and we will be back with a very special interview.
Stargirl After Show. Stargirl After Show.
All right, guys, we have Anjelika Washington back in the house. So glad that you're back here. And I always love speaking to you.
Woo! I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you. And I always have so much fun with you. So I'm happy to be here.
Last week we had Tim Gabriel on.
Love Tim.
And he had such nice things to say about you. Going out of your way to find him and hang out with him, even though you didn't have any scenes together.
Oh, he's so sweet. I definitely did do that. I just do that with everyone. I just am very excited for actors because our journey is so hard already. And so I always just try to befriend people, especially when I know they're not from Atlanta, because now that means you flew in across the country from wherever, and 8 times out of 10, they don't know anyone in Atlanta. They don't have friends or family, and they're going to be there filming for a while. So I'm always like, hi, let's be friends. Let's hang out. You're not alone in your hotel room all day.
let me introduce you to Bar Taco immediately.
Oh my gosh, that's 100% exactly what I did. Did he tell you that?
No, he said good Mexican food, and I just assumed Ange took him to Bar Taco.
Oh my gosh. Yes, 100%. You know me well.
Also, I was like, I mean, if you're going to have lunch with someone on the Stargirl cast, it's got to be Ange, because Ange is the person to go get food with. This
is true. You know, I love food. I love to eat. I love all the things. And I think he enjoyed it too. He was like, yeah, let's go. It was great. We had a great time.
Oh, yeah. He said that he... Anyway, we're talking too much about Tim. We had a whole interview last week about Tim. This week is about Ange. And there's so much I want to talk about because this last episode was super fantastic and very transformative for Beth.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that a little bit because, you know, that's, I guess, what people are here for mostly. But then I just want to like catch up and chit chat about some stuff.
Okay, great. Let's do it. Ask away. I love this episode. It is one of my favorite episodes probably ever, definitely in this season. But probably like top 5 episodes ever, probably with the 3 seasons of Stargirl.
Well, a few minutes ago, you said that all throughout the filming of this episode, you felt like you were having your Peter Parker moment.
I did.
And I want you to expand on that.
All right. So in episode 9, this is the episode where Beth finds out her suit can do so much. Like her gloves are defibrillators. Her cape is a shield. She just learns like she has power in her suit. Whereas this entire time, all we've thought of or known of Beth is her goggles. And that's all she knows of is her goggles. And her parents have been doing this research and talking to the original Dr. McNider and getting all of this information about different possibilities that the suit has, like that the suit can do for her. And she had no idea. And her parents call her during a time when she actually really needed. It's kind of like that moment where like you get that phone call literally at the perfect time, but also at that time you're like, I'm too busy for this. I gotta go. Like, Mom, Dad, I can't talk right now. I'm really busy fighting bad guys. And they're like, oh, we just learned your suit can help you. That's what we are calling about. And she's like, what? What are you talking about? And so it came in right at the perfect time. And it was just my first time ever getting to like really do stunt choreography and get thrown around a bit, getting to like do my own falls, which is not like a huge thing, but for me it is because, as you know, Beth doesn't really have any type of combat skills, which she learns. She has amazing combat skills. So it feels very much like Peter Parker. Like as soon as Beth kind of sees like combat mode, you know, and then he swings, she ducks, she punches, she does all these things that she didn't even know she could do. And so it just reminded me of like that moment where Peter Parker finds out he's Spider-Man, especially like in this, is it the second one where he gets those glasses from Iron Man? Tony Stark, thank you. And like the glasses like show him all this stuff. It feels very much like that.
I mean, even more specifically, we mentioned it in the episode, is where in one of the Spider-Man movies, he like hacks into the suit and finds out that it can do all these things that he didn't know about. And it's that exact parallel. Yeah,
exactly. So I really felt like I was having my moment.
And it's really heightened a few minutes earlier when Wildcat jumps into the house and she's like, you wait here. Fighting is not your thing, Beth.
Yep. Yeah. And then Beth has that like sad moment, but like of feeling like inadequate, like, you know, like, damn, I don't get to be a part of the team really in that way. But then she steps in there anyway, being Beth Chapel, curious Beth. And so she steps in there trying to see, and then she ends up getting herself in like a very dangerous situation. And her parents call with the goods. And then it changes everything for Beth. It changes everything. Like that moment she realizes, holy crap, I have combat skills and I didn't even know. So it just changes everything.
Not to mention it also comes after she's been spending all season pushing her parents away. And her parents kind of turn out to actually be her superpower.
Right. Isn't that insane? Her parents are almost like her sidekicks. She just doesn't even realize it at the time. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm very excited. I hope everyone's enjoying the journey. And I'll stop talking. I'll let you ask questions because you know that I will just talk for an hour and I'll just get off tangent.
I mean, I love it. I'm 100% here for it. But yeah, Beth has had a real great, I mean, if we look at her overall arc, she starts off like really just wanting her parents' attention. And then she's pushing them away. And now finally we're getting to a place where they can actually be there with her in some capacity.
Right. 100%.
And all of that is great. And, you know, Beth is also over the season standing up for herself a bit more rather than just always agreeing with Courtney. A couple episodes ago, she was like, man, no, I'm with the others here. You messed up. Yeah.
Beth is telling the truth. She's being, she's always really told the truth. But I think especially in the first season, when Beth really just wanted to be a part of the team, she just really needed Courtney's approval. You know what I mean? To join the JSA, to be Dr. Midnight, to just be a part of the team in general. And so I feel like now she's coming into her own, particularly like when she was telling Courtney, like, no, actually, I think you're wrong, you know, or when she fights, or not fights, but they have disagreements with her team. Whereas before, you know, I think Beth's goal was to always keep the peace and like try to keep everyone together and on the same page, because this is the first group of friends she's ever had and she doesn't want to ruin it. And she wants everyone to like stay together, stay happy, also like fight crime and do what they do, but still love each other and come back together at the end of the day. Whereas now she's a lot more comfortable in herself. She's very like giving Beyonce cozy, comfortable in my skin, comfortable who I am. And so now she has her own opinion. She's not afraid to tell Courtney, like, no, I think you're wrong. I disagree. And she's not afraid to disagree with the entire team. She still has that like loving, bubbly optimism that is still very Beth, but it's just now layered with more self-confidence and more of like, I know right from wrong, and I'm going to say it regardless of me worrying about your validation of or your thoughts of me.
I'm also really excited to get back to the combat mode thing. I'm really excited for that to shut up a lot of people on Reddit, honestly.
Honestly, same. Because you have no idea the amount of DMs I get on social media of people like, how does it feel to be the weakest superhero in DC history, or the weakest superhero on CW, or the
and you're like,
link.
Oh yeah, watch this. I'm gonna fight an old man.
100%. I was like, well, first of all, sir, I'm not the weakest. And I remember having this, I did an interview. Meg and I did this like press junket. It was like an international press junket for season 2 of Stargirl. And it was right before it came out. And literally, I'm not even kidding, it was like 7 a.m. in the morning. And the very first interviewer was like, hi, Anjelika. I just want to know, you know, what's it like to be the weakest superhero like in history? And I'm like, whoa, it's 7 a.m. and you came at me with the roast and the harshness already. So I instantly was like, actually, Beth is not the weakest. She's the only one to overcome Eclipso. So now we just have to define what you think is strength, because I think mental strength sometimes trumps physical strength. They might be really strong or really fast or can do the most amazing flips and tricks and all these wonderful stunts that they do. But at the end of the day, like, your mental toughness also matters, and how strong you are emotionally, mentally, you know, all the things. So I think there's a difference. And I think that that's a conversation that should be had, because Beth doesn't get as much credit as she deserves. But also, I'm Beth, so I'm biased.
Absolutely. So. You know, for example, like, I don't think anyone would call Batman weak.
Right.
And yet in Batman versus Superman, he's so weak-willed that he gets some postcards in the mail and he's like, I've been convinced to murder somebody.
Right.
So, you know, I would say Beth Chappell would never be convinced to murder somebody because that she got some postcards in the mail.
No.
Like, these are very compelling postcards. Not even letters, man, just postcards. So yeah, that's
right.
That inner and mental strength really makes a difference.
Thank you. And Beth gets way more hints and way more clues than postcards. And she has never gone out to kill anyone intentionally. Yet.
I've seen some people with some theories that Beth's going to go dark.
Oh, really?
Become a bad guy.
I stay off of I try to stay off of those like Reddit and Twitter and the things where I could just find myself in a rabbit hole reading about what people predict and what they think. And so I try to stay off, but I love to hear about it. If it's positive, tell me. I love to hear it. If it's negative, I can do without it. I don't need it in my life. There's already enough negativity in the world.
Look, our fans, they go in and they look through the minutia of like everything. Like, I think it being a murder mystery this season has really heightened that, because now people are just like, there are clues in here. We're going to find them.
Yep. They're like, there's clues everywhere in every scene, in every moment. And we think it's Beth.
And they're digging through stuff. I don't think I've seen anyone think that Beth is the murderer, but I've seen people think that Beth might go bad and like looking at like a couple of reasons why. I don't remember why, because honestly, it was so silly that I just...
No worries. If it was Beth, that would be the biggest plot twist of all time.
Oh man, I would love to see that. I might have even made a joke about it. I like trolling the listeners sometimes and just saying like, oh yeah, Barbara's the murderer.
I love that. And they're like, Barb. Also, I love in this episode, her and Tigress, Mrs. Croc. Like, I love the relationship that they're developing. I love that is probably one of my favorite storylines of this season, is just getting to see them together.
The weird friendships I love. Sarah and I talked quite a bit about that as well. Croc and Pat, where Croc's just like, yo, Pat, talk to me, man. Like, we're friends now.
Right. Those make me really happy. Those friendships and those like new relationships make me really happy. So I love their scenes together.
Also, this episode had the JSA coming back together after a bit of a rift.
Oh, with Icicle Jr.
Right.
Right.
Courtney does her little mea culpa, and Beth, of course, is like, all right, you're forgiven.
Yep. That sounds just like me, just like Beth. See, but at least Beth was honest. She was like, I don't agree. I don't think this is a good idea. But now that you've learned, I forgive you. And I still love you, because that's very Beth. And we love that about her. Yeah, we do. They come back together and they work together for good. It is really, really special, I think, getting to see the JSA back in action. What an honor it was to work with Sophus. Oh my goodness. That man is incredible. He told me about his entire life and just everything, his journey to acting. He had like a whole other career prior to acting, and like didn't decide to be an actor till he was like, I could be butchering this, but it was like 60. Like, he's 80 something. So it wasn't until he was like 20 years ago, like a good 60 something, like he was retiring from his career and then was like, you know what I always wanted to do? Be an actor. And his wife was like, okay, let's move to New York. And they went to New York City, and then he started learning acting and plays and all of this stuff. And then look at him now, a freaking huge villain on Stargirl, like just incredible. He's amazing. It was such an honor to work with him. So,
well, we are Facebook friends. Perhaps I should reach out and have him on the podcast.
Oh, you should. You would love him. You would love him. He is so kind. And also just like such an actor, like what you really think of like those like actors who really trained like conservatory wise. He is one of those for sure. And it reads as well, which is awesome. His life story is just amazing. And his grandkids watch the show and they love it. And it's just awesome. I'm like, how you are the coolest freaking grandpa ever. Like, if you were my grandpa, I would be posting you on Instagram every week. Like, check out my grandpa. He's on this show. He's amazing. I'm like, how freaking cool is that?
And look, in season 1, who would have predicted that like there would be a giant epic battle scene against the entire JSA with those grandparents?
Right. No one. I mean, I definitely didn't see it coming. I know most of the cast didn't either. So it was so exciting, but so scary because in my head, like they're still, I mean, obviously they're human beings, but they're still like fragile. Like in my family, how I grew up, like it is like take care of our elders by any means necessary at all costs. I don't know if that's culturally, I don't know, but so it's just like they were also doing stunts. Like they were literally on the mats, falling over, doing all their hits. Like I was like, are they okay? Because in my head, he's like 80 something. And I'm just like, one bad fall, babe.
Right.
I don't know. I'm nervous. You know, like we got to take care of them. But I think that we did a really good job. Walter, of course, as you know, our stunt coordinator, Andy directed the episodes.
Yes.
And she is incredible. And so it was like a collective agreement that was like, we are going to take care of them. They are top priority right now. Their safety, their health, their everything. If you see anything that feels like it might be too much or whatever, you let people know immediately. But they never did. He was actually like, no, I want to do my own stunts. Like, I don't need a stunt double. And we were like, babe, we just love you so much. We just want to take care of you. That's all it is. We know you can do it. We just want you to be fine a year from now to see it. So thank God he is.
Yeah. I also want to talk about in the fight, Beth was so fun because she wasn't just like, oh, I can fight now. Yeah, punch, punch. She was very like surprised and hesitant, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think like that's the difference between like, well, not that I'm trying to ever compare Beth to Spider-Man, but in the sense of like me saying I'm having my Peter Parker moment, right? When Peter Parker is having his moment, he's like, this is so cool. Look at everything I can do. Boom, 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 boom. Wow. Beth is like, I don't know about this. Punching people, hurting people. I don't know. That's not what I thought I was going to do. Like she's excited that she finds out that she can do it, but also is like afraid because hurting people is never what she's ever wanted to do. So she's also just very timid and like, and then when she does punch Sophus, she's like, oh, sorry. Like, I'm so sorry. That was really fun, but also it hurt. But also, are you okay? Are you okay?
Doctor is right in her name.
Right.
Do
Although
no harm.
He's literally trying to kill her, but she's like checking on him as she's defending herself. Like, I'm trying to defend myself. I just want to get you to stop. But also, are you okay? Did I hurt you? And I loved playing that. I think that it was like the perfect energy for Beth because making it too confident, I think would be too quickly of a shift.
Right.
You know what I mean? Too quick of a shift in Beth's character development. I don't think that she would just immediately be like, wow, I can kick butt. Look at me. I think it's it's a big moment. Like, oh my God, I didn't know I can do that. And like, also I'm afraid, but I'm surprised and excited and just feeling a lot of feels at one time.
It's also a lot more interesting than having just a whole room full of like everyone being a badass.
Very true. We got to mix it up. Like we have to have some fun in there, some colors that make it different because we already know what Our Man and Wildcat can do. We know what Stargirl can do. We've seen them do that for 3 seasons, you know, but no one's had a chance to see Beth in action like this. So that's what I'm so excited for people to watch. And I hope that they enjoy it.
And I'm excited to see more of it.
Me too.
Now, turning to some other things. I want to talk about, and I've been wanting to talk to you about this for a while. It just hasn't really worked out. But I want to talk about the summer of protests and some of the activism you got involved in and how maybe even some of that stuff bled into Stargirl.
Okay. Yeah. I'm like, ooh, you're going far back. And I'm like, ooh, 2020. All right. 2020 was an interesting year. A year that I think challenged a lot of us, like definitely me, but I think a lot of people, and it was a very eye-opening summer to a lot of people who just weren't really aware of the struggles that marginalized communities face on a daily basis, not just like it's a one-time thing or it's a situational or circumstantial. No, it's a daily fight. It's a daily experience, that we're used to, that we go to all the time. And I will start by saying, to me, it is not surprising nor like crazy or anything that I'm very involved. My parents met each other volunteering at a voter registration booth, like getting people to register to vote. So that is just my background. That is how I was raised. It is very much exercise your vote, exercise your democracy. I'm a full believer. I'm a democracy defender. And I 100% believe that the power is in the people. And also that the people are powerful. So with that being said, I think it is our duty. I think it is our obligation, not only as a woman of color, but as an American in general, to uphold the rights that I have, that my ancestors and women before me have fought literally for decades for me to have. And for me to just like let these things go like they don't matter or act like, we'll fix it later. Like, there is no later. You have to fix it now, because if we don't fix it, it's the next generation. And then it just keeps getting passed down. And, so now, in 2022, when rights are being rolled back and all these things, like, it's insane to think that my mom, who grew up at the time of civil rights as a woman, a Black woman, had more rights than me then than I do now. That's actually insane. You know what I mean? Like, how the idea that she had more rights as a woman than I have is crazy. And I absolutely refuse to stay here. And I absolutely refuse to go any farther back. And my absolute goal is to be regaining rights and only moving forward to progress for not only myself and my friends and my generation, but my nieces and my children that I'll have one day and their children's children, But it starts with us. I'm a firm believer that it starts with us, and it starts with you now, and it starts today. And there is only 11 days left until election day. The election I don't think this will be out. I think the election will be passed by the time this podcast comes out. But election day is the last day to vote. The election is now. Early voting is now. Mail-in ballots is now. All of that stuff is right now. It is not in 11 days. That is when it ends. It ends in 11 days. It has already started. So I'm done with my spiel. But
actually, if you are hearing this, then I think you have 6 days left to vote if you're listening to it right after the episode. So,
really?
Yeah. Go. I think this comes out on the 2nd.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great.
Yeah, because this is for episode 9.
Perfect. We just did 8. Okay, yeah, you're right. So you have a few days left. Go vote. It matters so much. And I know that it feels like it doesn't, particularly if you're of a younger generation, like a millennial or on the cusp of millennial Gen Z, or if you are Gen Z, it feels often like, everyone's like, get out and go vote. Everyone vote because we need the young people to vote. And then we vote and then we feel like our rights and our things still get rolled back. So then it feels like, well, what was the point? Right? Like, I definitely can relate to that. But the point is that we showed up. The point is we made our voices heard, because imagine what would happen if we didn't show up. Like, imagine what they could do if they had even less power.
Yeah, you can't get discouraged.
No, we can't get discouraged. This is actually the time that we have to light a fire under our ass and go even harder and talk to the people who we know didn't vote last time, and talk to the people who did vote that are like, or who are feeling discouraged or feeling like unheard. Especially I notice a lot of the times I was talking with some of my best friends, and they have a podcast called Dare We Say. And on their podcast, they talk about, politics and social issues and things like that as well. And some of my friends were bringing up how they feel like older generations are talking at them, not to them. And they only want to use them for their vote, but then they disregard their needs after that. And so it's just up to us to get more politically engaged, to become more understanding, aware of what our rights are, aware of how the system works, because the only way that you can beat the system is if you know how it works. You're never going to beat it if you don't even know where to start. That's like saying, oh, you should really start in investing. You can get rich off that. Great. You just throw your money in there and you don't know how it works. You're probably going to get screwed over. You know, you have to learn how it works, learn how to make it work for you. And that is what people have done before us. It's just unfortunately on the opposite side. And it's why we're being screwed the way we are now.
Well, you know, I have to say, like, the first vote that I cast was in Florida for Al Gore. And if I didn't get discouraged, then like...
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Amen. Hey, if he voted for Al Gore, we can do it.
Florida. Like...
In Florida.
That's
of
like...
all the states. Yeah. Florida's Florida. Shout out to all the Floridians. Y'all have some work to do out there. I mean, we have work to do as a whole, but I'm not on the ground out in Florida. There's only so much I can do. And I'm a California girl, and luckily I have Newsom on my side. So, but that doesn't mean we stop. We have to keep going because it could very quickly turn the other direction. And I think now we have seen and learned even more how every election is now the most important election of your life. Every single one.
Yeah.
Whether it's the midterm, it's the most important election. The next phrase, it's the most important. And I feel like we hear, oh, it's the most important election. It actually is, because it gets increasingly more important as time goes by, because every time we take 3 steps forward, we end up taking 2 steps back. So in order to actually continue to make progress, we have to show up. We have to keep raising our voice. We have to show up in the streets. We have to show up to the White House. We got to show up to Congress. We got to show up to social media. We have to show up to our friends. We have to show up to the ballot box. That is the number one place we have to show up. You can post all day on your story, babe, all day. You can post on your Instagram story all day. You can tweet about it all day. But if you're not casting your own freaking ballot, it almost doesn't, not that it doesn't matter that you're using your voice. It definitely does, but you're not utilizing your power. Your power is in your vote. We have power in our voice as well by getting loud, but all of that kind of means nothing if we don't actually get out and do the work. And that is voting.
And a lot of people are trying to restrict the power of our votes.
Oh.
But the more we vote, the more we can fix those things too. Yep,
absolutely. When we talk about voting rights and we talk about so many there's a whole pool of things. But when we discuss voting rights and we talk about how the people that create these laws of who can vote, how you can vote, where you can vote, all these different things, they affect you, right? So if you live in, say, an inner city that maybe has more lower income communities, you're probably going to have less voting locations than you would if you were in a higher income location. Why? Because oftentimes people of a higher income tend to vote certain ways depending on what state you're in, and they know that. So in California, which is where I live, but I also live in Georgia, right? Because I live in both states. So when I'm in Georgia, I guess I had the honor of 2020 being there during election time, during November. And it was very, very clear that I lived like out in South Fulton. So I lived more out in the country, and the nearest voting location was probably like 10 miles away, maybe even like 15 miles away. Like you had to drive into the city. Okay, but not everybody has resources to get into the city. Not everyone has a car. Not everyone can afford an Uber. You know, there were definitely, Stacey Abrams does a great job, as we all know, and her organization Fair Fight and other organizations that were on the ground in Georgia. I'm just speaking on 2020, but we're doing a great job of carpooling, getting buses and shuttles out to communities where people may not have been able to get out to vote, and had transportation for them. So they were able to go do that. But that's also costs money. Right. So that means that we have to donate our time, or donate your car, donate your resources in order to help people so they can get out and vote. But all of that also comes back to education and why you're voting and who you're voting for and what inspires you and drives you to want to get out and use your voice. and participate in democracy. And if we don't participate in democracy, we're not going to have a democracy, period. That is where we are. That is where we are headed in this country. If we do not continue to participate in this democracy, we will not have one.
100% agree. I'm in Atlanta, as you know, and there's been legislation specifically in response to the Stacey Abrams stuff, making it harder for those kinds of efforts to work. You know, It's illegal to hand a bottle of water to someone who's been in line to vote for 8 hours. It's crazy. So the good news is that here in Georgia, in this midterm season, we're breaking records left and right for early voting.
Yes.
We had a record first day of early voting turnout that my wife and I were both a part of. We went and voted as soon as we possibly could this election season, not taking any chances.
Yes.
I will say everyone listening to this should, on a regular basis, particularly if you're in a red state, check your voter registration. Make sure you haven't been thrown off the voter rolls, because that's why Stacey Abrams lost in 2018, was because she was running against the guy that supervises the elections, who was throwing tens and hundreds of thousands of voters off the rolls, mostly in areas that were more likely to vote for his opponent.
Yep.
So people were showing up to vote and they couldn't. So make sure, like once a year minimum, get on there, make sure that you're still registered to vote, because the rule that he threw them out under was a use it or lose it rule.
You didn't vote previously, you were like taken off.
Yeah, if you didn't vote for a certain number of years, I think it was like 5 years or something. That's just skipping one election. Right,
which is unacceptable and so unfortunate, because there are a lot of people who just genuinely don't vote, maybe in the presidential election, but also sometimes just don't vote until it starts to affect them. And I actually personally believe that your local and your state elections are even more important than federal elections, because that is what is going to directly affect you on a day-to-day basis. Who you vote in as your state secretary, or who you vote in as the judge in your city, or who you vote as the chief of police or whatever. I don't actually think we vote for that, but we definitely pay them for that. But whatever it is that is your local election, whether it be education, environmental, for human rights, women's rights, LGBTQ rights, whatever you believe in, whatever you stand for, whatever the things that are most important to you, the midterm elections are where we really get to exercise the things that are going to affect us on a day-to-day basis. I know there's certain props that different states have that are so important. I know in California, I mean, for me, Prop 1 is really important, but I'm a woman, so women's rights really matter to me, especially reproductive rights. And so whatever it is for you, like you have to think about those things. Think about how, okay, this may not affect me today, but this could affect me in 5 years from now. This could affect me in 10 years from now. And sometimes it's those laws that went into effect 10 years ago that were on a ballot. I don't even know how long. It could have been 10, 15, 12 years ago. And then it doesn't affect you until now. And then you're thinking, why is this like that? And they're like, oh, well, people voted on that 12 years ago. Now, you may not have been old enough to vote 12 years ago, or maybe you were, but that is why we have to think of the future. We have to think about it now and how it's going to affect us later, and not just how it directly affects us today. I mean, there's so many things that directly affect us right now, but it's also thinking ahead, thinking about the things that you want. Especially, it's a lot easier to pass a proposition or pass a law when you already have either a proposition that was been very similar or a law that's been similar. And sometimes it's baby steps. Like sometimes we're not going to get, the 100% progressive or liberal ideal right away, right? Sometimes you got to go the more moderate route. I'm very liberal. That is just very much of who I am. So I'm very progressive, very liberal in that way. But I also understand that some people aren't there. So we got to make compromises. Sometimes we just have to choose the more moderate idea, the more moderate version where we can each get something that we feel like, okay, I'm happy with that. Like, it's not exactly everything I want, but it is a compromise. And so it makes everybody happy around the table. And so working on that.
And you are saying stuff I've been saying for 20 years. You know, when people get so mad, they're like, oh, Bernie didn't make it in. Like, not everybody was ready for Bernie. You know?
Yeah. And I love Bernie. I know you love Bernie. We were like, feel the burn. And I still love Bernie. And a lot of things that Bernie was saying when he was running in freaking, what was that, 2015, before the 2016 election, like, has come to pass, has come true. Exactly what Bernie said. Same with Hillary. Things that they said was like, this is what's going to happen if you don't vote the right way. And it did happen, right? And, you know, Joe Biden is not perfect. No one is perfect. Kamala Harris is not perfect. And she's my state senator. And was my state senator. And, you know, I have a lot of love for the Biden-Harris campaign that I had the very privilege and honor of getting to do a lot of work for in the 2020 election. And I'm very, very grateful that I had that opportunity to really get to work with a lot of people up for their team to get them in office. I mean, for me, it was get Trump out by any means necessary. So I really didn't care at the end of the day which Democrat it was. And once I knew it wasn't going to be Bernie, I was like, all right, well, I'm on board for anybody. I don't care anymore. And I think that sometimes and when I say I don't care anymore, I don't mean like I don't care about how it turns out. I do care. I meant in the sense of I didn't care who, how, any which way we can get Trump out by any means necessary is what I mean by I didn't care who was going to do it. And I do think that
any electoral means necessary is what you mean. Yes.
Any electoral means necessary. Thank you.
I'm not gonna let somebody take that out of context and be like, she's advocating for the murder of a president.
Oh God. Yes. Thank you. I would never advocate for that. I don't think violence is ever the answer, but I do think that exercising our rights is the answer. I think that utilizing our democracy is the answer. And again, I don't think that they're perfect. They have a lot of work to do, but they also have done a lot of work. They've reversed a lot of things. I definitely sleep better at night. I don't wake up every single day with a new notification about something crazy that the president did. And so for me, that matters. That matters a lot. But in order to stay here, to keep the House, to keep the Senate, for our Congress to look the way that it does, which also we have a lot of work to do there too. Like, again, we're not perfect. I don't think we ever will be, but I definitely think that we're moving towards a brighter future. My hope and my goal, something that I said at DragonCon, and you might have been there for it, but why I do think it bleeds over a little bit into Stargirl, or at least how I view it as like, you know, a blend of morals is, you know, in Stargirl, this season in particular is called Frenemies, where people are working together that they didn't want to work with. People are having to be teammates with people that they don't like and they don't trust. They don't have the same morals, beliefs, values, etc. But yet we're doing it because for the greater good, the good of humanity, the good of taking down this evil villain, whoever, whatever it is, we had to do what we had to do, right? And it was a murder mystery in that case for Stargirl, but in the case of our world, I mean, yes, there's a lot of murder cases, but I just think in general, the bigger case is just humanity functioning together and like unifying. And I think that I look forward to the world taking some inspiration from Stargirl and working on a very bipartisan level. I think that we don't do the best job of that. And I think that that is definitely something that we all can improve on, is by really hearing each other out and working together, even when we don't agree. But we work together because we can all agree that the next generation needs us more than they need our disagreements. They need us to work together to make a better, safer, healthier, cleaner future for them and for their kids. Or quite literally, we all won't be here in 100 years. That's just a fact. Like, we're just going to be in doom, human doom. We're all going to be extinct, quite literally, if we don't get our crap together. And I think once we can all get on the same page about that, and we can say, you know what, humans matter more than profits. period. Unfortunately, I think some people don't believe that core value. And that is where the biggest miscommunication lies, because some people don't value humans over profits. They actually value money over people,
It's
which
so
to
weird.
me is insane. Like, why would you put profits over people? Why would you put money over humans at any time in life? I don't get it. But I think once we can get people on board that humans matter more than your capitalism, then maybe we'll be able to actually unify and work together. And I hope that Stargirl can be like a light of hope and not only just an inspiration, but an example of what working with people that you don't agree with looks like. And it actually can be healthy and for the greater good.
You know, I really have to commend how well you brought that back to Stargirl. That was an incredibly good segue.
I was trying to bring it back, make it make sense.
Yeah, because I think that after the time that we spent at DragonCon together, that I could go down that rabbit hole with you and we would be down there for a long time. Yeah.
We could be having this conversation for like 2 hours, just talking about civil and political engagement. Like, it's so fun. So fun to me, though. I notice a lot of people, they're like, I don't want to debate. I don't want to argue. And I'm like, oh, I'm just having a conversation. I'm not debating at all. Maybe I am debating, but in the sense of like a healthy debate. Like, I just think that we should talk about these things, because if we don't talk about them, how are we ever going to solve them?
Well,
How are we ever going to solve?
I think working in film and living in LA, there's that sort of feeling where like you start talking about this stuff and you kind of just assume that everyone around you is on the same page, because usually that's the case.
Usually. And then you have those moments where you're like, oh, you don't believe what I believe.
Yeah. Then you realize the person across from you is going, this person is unhinged.
Yes. They're thinking I'm nuts and I'm thinking they're nuts. And now I'm like, wait a second. I've been hanging out with this person on set for 14 hours for the last 3 months. And I did not even know that was your belief system. That's always a nice little surprise. But I do think that those moments are necessary. I'm aware that like in some moments it's not professional to discuss politics at certain moments, but they impact how we do our jobs. They impact who is doing the job. And they also impact like where we do it and how we do it and why we do it. Everyone's why is different, of why you get up in the morning and why you go to work, what makes you continue to strive for that passion or whatever dream that is. And for me, it's quite literally because I also want other little Black girls to see someone who looks like them on TV. So yeah, my politics does bleed over into my work. Absolutely. Because I can't take my skin color off ever. It's just who I am. I wear it throughout my day, every room I walk into, everywhere I go. I'm never going to forget that I am a Black woman. It's just who I am. And so that is a motivating factor for me, not only of why I do what I do, but how I do it. I am very cognizant of how I'm portraying Black women in the media and in TV and in film. And those things matter to me. So they all do at the end of the day, they all kind of go hand in hand. I don't have to tell everybody that. I think that's really what it is when people feel like it's like not everyone needs to know. But I mean, we're also in a world now where I think we talk about politics more. I mean, I don't know. I haven't really been here that long, but I think we talk about them more than we did when I was like growing up. Like I hear my niece who's like 11 and 12 talking about the election. I was not talking about an election when I was 11 and 12. That makes me so excited and inspires me because they're already so aware of how the world works. Again, we can't change the system if we don't know how it works. So I love that they're so educated in that way already, that they know those things. But also I'm like, dang, I was like outside riding my scooter, like hanging out when I was 11. Like I was like playing with the neighbors and the dogs and, it's just different times. The world has changed a lot.
Yeah. Now, talking about little Black girls getting to see themselves in you on TV, Tell me a little bit about your experience at DragonCon, sitting at a table with fans coming up to you to talk to you and get your autograph and stuff. Did you run into any little girls that were very excited to see? There
were. And you know what? That was my first convention, as you know. So
actually, can I interrupt you to tell the audience a story? when we walked into the area that's called the Hall of Fame, where you go to get all the autographs and stuff, we turn the corner and straight ahead, Ange sees her booth with the banner with her as Dr. Midnight on it and her big name on it. She's like, oh my God, I have a booth. They made that for me. Like, I wish I had my phone out to like capture that moment. She was so genuinely excited. It was a full Beth moment.
It really was. I was like so excited. I did not know that I was going to have a booth, and I didn't know, again, it was my first convention. I really didn't know what to expect. I went into it with like a complete open mind. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing here, but I'm going to have so much fun. And I did end up having a blast. But yes, I think that those were the moments that 100% make filming Stargirl worthwhile. I think, like, obviously I love that I get to do what I do, and it's something I've always wanted to do, but it's 10 times more special when you actually get to meet the fans who watch your show and like know your character and know the storylines and know just all the different things about your character and about your life. Like, those things are just so fun. And they just remind me, like, oh yeah, people do watch. Because to be completely honest, I mean, I live in LA, so when I'm not filming in Atlanta, I'm usually here. And most people in LA have never even heard of Stargirl. They're like, I don't even know what show that is. I never heard of it. Like, no idea what you're talking about. Oh yeah, maybe I saw a billboard for that. I think I've heard of that. Or I've auditioned for that, because, you know, everyone here is an actor. So it's things like that. But it's rarely like people actually watch the show. So sometimes I feel like I actually live in a bubble. Like, I go to Georgia, I do this thing where I create this show that I love, and I get to be this superhero, and it's so cool. Then I come back to LA and nobody knows anything, and they don't know who I am, and they've never heard of it. I feel like sometimes I live like that. So
like, it's all just a hoax, like a Truman Show just for you.
Right. Where I'm like, I know of it, my friends know, and like my castmates who live here know, but nobody else knows. And nobody knows who we are. They've never heard of our show. Like, they don't know anything. So it does feel like I'm almost in this like assimilation, or like this dystopia or something, where it's like real, but not real. So that really made it feel real. And I really think that those things are really important. I mean, probably for everyone, but particularly for actors, especially like our show came out when we were shut down, right? So we didn't get to go to Comic-Con. We didn't get to go to all these different events that we were told we're going to go to. We didn't get to do upfronts. We didn't get to do any of that stuff. So when the show came out, I was literally sitting in my apartment in LA on lockdown. Like, that's what I was doing. And I didn't leave. So I really didn't know how much people were really watching, or like if people were enjoying it outside of getting on social media. But I also had to be really careful because people weren't really that nice to me at the time. So it was like, I was kind of trying to navigate. And when I say not nice to me, I mean not nice to me in the sense of they weren't very nice to me because I was a Black woman playing Dr. Midnight, but they knew I was going to be in his old suit because they had already been released and yada, yada. And that is where Beth Chapel Defense Squad comes in. Shout out Beth Chapel Defense Squad. Y'all are the realest. Y'all are the best. Y'all been rocking with me since day one and been defending me since day one. And I am so appreciative.
So, but on the other hand, how dare you be Black on TV?
Oh,
like, how dare you get off? And a woman? Oh my God.
Oh my God. How dare she? Doesn't she know that should be illegal?
Everybody knows the only Dr. Midnight in the comics is a white dude.
He's a white man. And I'm like, oh, you missed the whole new Dr. Midnight. You missed that part.
Yeah, okay. They missed all that. They went through the same thing with Captain Marvel. Yeah,
right. Or they just sometimes miss the mark, or they just assume that it's going to be as traditional as they want it to be. And, you know, things are just not going to be that way all the time. And it's 2022. So my mom has always told me, baby, the only thing consistent in life is change. And let me tell you something. She is right. I'm reminded on a daily basis, the more we can adapt to change, the better off and the easier and happier I think that we'll all be. And that's that.
Man, like, that's a really good place to end. I don't know how. I feel like we shouldn't even talk anymore because that's such a good wrap up. Let's give your mom the last word.
Thanks, Mom. I love you. She's absolutely going to listen to this. She's probably the only person not the only person, but she's definitely number one. Like my number one fan, the number one person in my life who is going to listen to the podcast as soon as you release it. I was literally talking to her on my way home from the gym right before this interview. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go home and I'm going to talk to Shawn. I'm going to be on his podcast. She was like, ooh, I'm so excited. I've listened to every episode.
Really?
And I'm like, of course you did, Mom. Absolutely. My mom is ride or die. She has heard it all, seen it all, never missed an episode. In fact, she literally texted me this morning and was like, loved the episode last night. It was so great. It was beautiful. Meanwhile, I was like completely out at a Halloween party, but I was like, thanks, Mom. So happy you enjoyed it. I'll watch it when I get home. She's like, okay. Best.
Oh, man. Halloween parties. I'm going to have to miss Halloween.
Oh, because you have COVID.
Yeah, I'm in isolation.
My gosh, you are. You're not missing anything, I promise.
Yeah, I got DragonCon. That's 10 Halloweens smushed into one weekend.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You're fine. It's the same shit. It's the same. However, I'm excited only because I've spent my last 2-3 Halloweens in Atlanta filming. And this time we're not. So this is my first Halloween in LA since like 2018. So it's been a while. So I'm actually quite excited. Also, my childhood best friend is pregnant again, and she's having a Halloween baby shower on Saturday. So I'm really excited. That's going to be fun. Never been to that. Never done that before. So it's going to be a great time.
Nice.
Yeah.
But
you'll have fun. You'll watch all the movies. Have you seen the new Hocus Pocus?
I haven't yet.
Neither have I, but I'm looking forward to it. I was really excited that they got the same cast. I was like, oh my gosh, they got the same actresses. It's amazing. It's like 20 years later. I love that. I can't imagine, like, what is that like to do something so iconic that 20 years later, they're like, let's remake it. And you get to still like live in that. I have no idea, but I hope that I actually do think that is going to be a Stargirl type of thing.
Put it in the world.
I really do. I think it'll be two things. I think that Stargirl will blow up years from now. All of a sudden, it's like people are going to find this show that they'd never heard of or never seen or whatever. Or maybe it will get released on like something similar to like Netflix or something. And then all of a sudden it's like, what? Have we never seen this show? It's amazing. I think that's number one. Or number two, I think that every actor in this show is so talented and so incredible. We're all going to go off and do amazing, huge things. And then people are going to look us up on IMDb or Google or whatever. And they're going to realize, oh my God, they all started on the same show.
Like Freaks and Geeks.
Exactly like that. Exactly like that. Where people can be like, can you believe they were all, like every single one of them they were all in this show together and we didn't even realize, like we never watched it. We never even heard of it. And we're all going to be like, yeah, we did that thing together years ago. And that's where we all started.
And how messed up is it that we're talking about this as if it's some like IFC show or like right. Something hidden away? We're not on
right.
Quibi.
Right.
You know, it's the CW.
Right. I know, but I do believe that. I think it's going to be that. I think we're going to have moments like that where people are going to piece it together, but it's going to be years later and we're all going to be like living our own iconic lives and people will just be shocked. And then we will be like, yeah, we tried to tell you years ago, but here we are. Everything happens the way it's supposed to. And I'm really excited. So
I have to say, I enjoyed hanging out with you at DragonCon so much. Like we spent basically the whole weekend together.
Yeah, me too. I had the best time.
I mean, I think I talked to you more than anybody. Actually, to be fair, I talked to your cousin more than anybody.
Yes, cousin Gwen.
I spent the whole weekend with Gwen and she's awesome.
Yes, don't we love? She had so much fun too. That was her first convention. And she has brought you up so much like, we have to go back to DragonCon next year, but we can only go back if Shawn still goes. He's the best tour guide ever. He showed me everything. And I'm like, I know Shawn is the best. And also thank you so much for hanging with her. So she wasn't like walking around by herself while we were doing all of our interviews and signings and stuff. It
would have been a very different story if she were lame, but as she were not lame and were actually quite awesome, I very much enjoyed hanging out with her.
Oh, that's so sweet. I'll definitely let her know. She's the best.
Yeah. Also let her know that after she left on that Monday, I discovered there was accidentally an entire floor of the vendor hall that we missed. Yeah.
Are you lying?
No.
That's insane.
When we first went in, I was walking straight, and this guy's like, "Oh, you're supposed to go up the escalator." So we went up the escalator to the second floor, and we thought that's where it started. But that ground floor had a whole floor of the vendor hall that we never went to.
Oh, well, honestly, that's great because she bought so much stuff there. Lord, I had to pack stuff in my own suitcase and bring it back for her after because she bought so much stuff. And I was like, okay, so honestly, that probably worked out best for her. But I will let her know for next time and she will bring a bigger suitcase.
So many mystery boxes. That girl's addicted to mystery boxes.
She's obsessed. She loves them. You know why? Because her and I we love surprises. We both love surprises. We love to be surprised. I love when people take me to places or when they bring people to surprise me. We both love surprises. We're both like that. I don't know why. We've grown up like that. Our parents did a lot of surprises and I don't know why we like that, but we love it. I know some people are like, I don't like surprises. I need to know what's happening at all times. And Gwen and I are just like, we have no idea what's happening, but we love what's happening. Just surprise us. So yeah, that sounds very much like her.
Speaking of surprises, you mentioned to me once a long time ago that you liked the show Star on Fox.
Yeah, I did. I've seen every episode.
Would you like a crew hat for Star?
Did you work on Star?
Yeah.
Oh, I would love that. It will be so random because I don't know any of the people on that show, but I have friends who are friends with people on that show. And they're going to be like, how did you get that? And be like, listen, Shawn hooked me up. Let me tell you about Shawn.
So I don't wear hats.
I guess I don't either really, but I'll wear the Star hat.
I've got like all my crew hats up here on this wall where you can't see them, unworn, just hanging out. But
wait, no, so keep your Star hat.
No, hold on. I'm not done. My Star hat's over here, just hanging on a hook because I only had so much room up here, and my experience working on Star was not good.
Oh, okay. Got it.
It was a traumatic work experience for me. And I would rather that hat represent something good to somebody.
I am very inspired by that perspective. Thank you. I will receive your Star hat with open arms and lots of excitement and gratitude. So thank you so very much. The pink pen.
I will send you both of those things.
Please. Because the way that everyone got a pink pen except for me, I'm genuinely confused. I'm like,
Trey was like making fun of you over it.
Right. And I was like, Trey, I want a pink pen. I don't care if it's a regular pen that happens to be pink. I want one. And yeah, he's like, Anjelika, what in the world? I love Trey. Trey is one of my besties. I love him so much.
I ordered a whole new box of these, but the pink is darker. So this is my last one of the original pink color. Other than my own one. So this is my last spare, and it's for you.
Oh my gosh, I will take it and I'll keep it so safe. I'll keep it nice and safe, I promise.
Anjelika, thank you for coming on the podcast again. You know, it's your 4th time on, so that's exciting.
Oh my gosh, is it really my 4th? I've never counted, so this is fun.
That's one for each season, plus the time you were here with everybody else.
Oh my gosh, yes, with the group and the JSA, and I cried.
Because your goggles have lights now.
I remember, I just really remember being like, did I really just cry on that podcast? And I did. But it's fine. Everything's great. Everyone still loves me, so it's okay.
It's because I'm such a hard-hitting journalist.
That's right. You got to the core. You got to the root.
I Oprah'd that stuff.
Absolutely. Well, Shawn, thank you for having me. This has been great as usual. I'm very excited. Thank you so much for just taking the time to put a spotlight on our show, especially in a time where it often feels like we've been quite forgotten. So I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you and all the work that you're doing. And I know that I can speak for the rest of the cast that we all love you and we support you. And we're just also grateful for you.
You're so sweet. And next time you're in Atlanta, we need to eat some food.
Absolutely. Because you know I love to eat. That is my favorite thing.
Me too. And if you ever want to get together and just talk about food for an hour, I could do that too.
Perfect. I will absolutely take you up on that offer.
All right. Thank you again, Ange. Have a great day.
Thanks, Shawn. You too.
Stargirl After Show.
And we're back. You can find this podcast and many others on fandomlim.com. It is a great podcast network that I just completely objectively love and think everyone should check out for no special reason at all. Also over there, you can find What's New Nancy Drew, the podcast about Nancy Drew that's done by Sarah, this Sarah right here, and Ben, who also do a Swift review, Tom Swift review podcast. Is Tom Swift still going on?
The season's done. Still looking for another network, but the DVD just dropped. So everyone should go pick that up.
Yeah, so you can go buy the DVD or Blu-ray of Tom Swift and watch it and listen to Sarah and Ben talk about it afterwards. And they also get awesome interviews like with the star of the show and other people.
Yeah, definitely go check it out. And also at fandomlim.com, you can listen to table reads to hear Shawn read scripts that didn't make it to production.
We perform scripts, really.
Okay, perform scripts.
Yeah, we do like all kinds of voices and stuff. There's a Lord of the Rings one where I do my killer Gollum that I'm too sick and throat hurty to do right now, but it's a solid Gollum.
All right.
If I do say so myself.
Everyone should go check that one out. I'm not going to try to pronounce your other one because you made fun of me last time.
That's just a monthly podcast with me and my friend talking about stuff that we have loved over our 30 years of friendship and how we bonded over it or whatever. Like you can't really bond over stuff when you've known each other 15 years, but that's the premise anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. It's just an excuse to have my friend over and talk about stuff for hours at a time.
It works.
Not that each episode is hours. We just do like 6 episodes in a day.
So definitely go check those out. Also go to stargirlaftershow.com/shop and check out all the cool merch there.
Such good merch. Someone just bought a pair of the World's Greatest Mom and Dad mugs.
Oh, nice.
I can't believe only one person has done that because they are exact replicas of the one on the TV show. Exact.
Everyone should go do that.
And who doesn't want a World's Greatest Mom and Dad mug? Get it as a gift. Guys, Christmas is not that far away.
It's true.
All right, well, that's it for us. We will be back next week to talk about, oh my God, episode 310 already.
It's going too fast.
Yeah, but 310, the title is The Killer. So
well, I hope we get answers.
Answers are forthcoming, my friends. And we are rapidly approaching the end of the best season of Stargirl yet.
I cannot wait for these last episodes.
So yeah, that's it for us. We will see you next week for The Killer. And until then, have a super great day.
Stargirl After Show is a production of Fandom Lim Media.